Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of our build series, build thread, what do we want to call it? Everything's been
Rig rundown.
Rig rundown.
You name it,
We've had too many questions about the BT50 on across our socials. So what we've decided to do is start a series where we take a dive into the shop builds, answer all your questions and talk to industry professionals.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Today we've got Josh from Built Wyld.
Thank you.
He's going to take us through the build. We saw Josh a couple of days before our content trip. He finished off our build for us.
Yeah. Improved it.
Yeah, improved it, finished it. So yeah, look, I've got a couple of questions, but let's start off with the Snorkel and Airbox.
Yep. So the snorkel on this car is 4-inch short entry, powder coated matte black. We have also offered a panel filter airbox for this model in the past. So basically what that is, you pull your standard filter out of your original airbox, put it into our unit, and then it becomes a fully sealed watertight box. Now we had, to be really honest, dragged ass on development for the pod filter airbox. Dom hassled me about it because everyone was hassling Dom about it, but obviously with the Raptor coming along, we had, you know, a few other things to do. But yeah, so this one's now got the pod filter airbox in it. It's manufactured to the same specifications as all of our other airboxes, 3mm aluminium, laser cut. It's got the nitrile gasket, which is a sealing surface on the lid. So you've got gasket, lid, and then the pressure plate. So when you pull the pressure plate down, it puts pressure against the lid, which puts pressure against the gasket, creates a nice sealing surface on the top of the airbox, make sure it's nice and waterproof. They also run the Australian-made uni filter that we run in all of our other airboxes. So the 3D scanned, modelled, and then billet machined MAF housing, just so that way you can make sure that all the air going across the airflow meter is to the same specifications as standard.
It's not going to throw any codes. No
codes, no engine lights, not going to give you any grief when you're in the middle of the bush or up the beach. So yeah, basically we've just taken everything that we've learnt and put into practice with all of our other well-performing airboxes and replicated it into the BT.
Now the mounting holes for this is exactly the same as a D-Max, right?
Yes, so this airbox will be the same BT D-Max. They're the same platform, same engine in the new ones.
Yep.
The only difference is a very slight difference in guard shape. We actually use the same snorkel. So BT D-Max is the same snorkel, same jig.
Different hole.
Different hole, exactly right.
So as Josh sort of just jumps in there, Josh has actually joined us. So if you've just seen the episode that I'm going to click here maybe, somewhere around. I'm going to link here. We actually just went to Josh's workshop from Built Wyld, took a look around. We needed to get the BT ready for a content trip over in Moreton. We only had a couple of days to do it. So we took it to the pros.
Yep.
So he sorted us out with a couple of mods. We'll go through those in a minute. But yeah, so those airboxes, they're available on the website now.
Yep.
They've been well tested. I'm sure Paul will throw up some footage right here.
A hiding over at Moreton. The carpet stayed dry.
Yeah.
Made sure Morgs could still drop Finn to daycare in it on Monday.
So, well, good segue there. One of the first things I'll talk about that we get the most questions about is the wheel and tyre package. So Morgs obviously does the daycare drop off, but then we also went and spent the weekend on Moreton.
Yep.
I drove the car. I have no full drive experience. And I
don't?
No, would you believe? Yeah, I know it didn't look like it, but
looked like a natural out there.
Yeah, well, I was the only person that didn't air down as well.
That's true.
I probably used a lot more fuel than you guys, but
that's why we run out.
Yeah. But besides that, like the car handled amazing. Josh, this is probably a question for you. Like, is that sort of? Are these a good all-option tyre like that? Is this what you would go to?
Tyre-wise, yeah.
Yeah. So we've got the Maxxis.
The Maxxis AT, the Razor AT is pretty hard to beat. They sort of came on the market a few years ago and got a lot of attention. I was always a big Nitto fan, Ridge Grappler. Yeah.
I had Ridge Grapplers on my old Ranger, on the grey PX3, and went from them to these, and they are amazing.
Yeah, the Nittos had a really good life, but as they get on, they do tend to get a little noisier.
Yep.
Depends, like some people get 100,000 Ks out of those Ridges as well. Like they're a tough looking tyre that's like aggressive to look at, but also nice on the road, nice man cut, like works everywhere, works off-road and on-road. These are sort of a Maxxis's, attack at that market. And it is, if you look at the pattern, there's some similarities to the Ridge But one thing they've done really well is have stock. So Nitto got very busy, I guess, in the States and through COVID and various things, and they just really ran out of stock in Australia. So they're coming back now, so that you'll see more ridges around now. But yeah, to me, they're the sort of two pick for this type of thing. So you want it to look good, you want it to be not too noisy on the road, you want it to perform off-road and last, all that sort of stuff. Hard to beat this or the Ridge. There is others out there. There's the Kenda RT, I like that one as well.
Yeah, they're the ones with like the bit, they're knobbly kind of sidewall.
Yep.
So
tough,
road noise, not really a drama.
Barely,
they're quite well behaving.
Barely, like I would say 1 to 2% more than a straight up highway tyre.
Wow.
So very, very similar to a road tyre in noise, and then just adds that. Obviously, the sidewall's nice and tough. More and more, there's a lot of tyres out there in this sort of world, but they're all actually really focusing on it now. So I know Falcon, BFG, they've got their old school designs. They're going to come through with something as well that's a bit more attacking this market. So, but yeah, Razor's big thing for me is someone selling them is available. They're constantly available. Their price is a little higher, but it's a good tyre, and never get someone complain about them. So.
On the note of them being a good tyre, looking after them.
Yep.
I am shocking. The Ranger is well and truly overdue for a balance and rotate.
Yep.
How important is that to tyre life?
Super important. Probably the most important. the range is probably.
That's why it's noisy.
More wheel alignments and things like that, and tyre rotation. That every 10,000 k's. That's ideal. If it's 15 with the service, that's good too.
Yeah.
But these are particularly not great if you don't keep the wheel alignments up to them. So if we always say sort of every 10,000 k's, these need a wheel alignment. It'll lead into some other questions I'm sure we've got on it, but their bump steer from factory isn't great. Yep. Lifting it does sort of increase that a little bit as well. So definitely, first of all, a wheel alignment if obviously you get a lift or something like that. But a lot of people say after say 500 k's, you go, normal cars, you go and get another wheel alignment. But with this, I sort of say 1500, really let it settle. Yep. And then get that wheel alignment initially. Yeah, just let it settle a bit further. Yeah. Yep. And then depends, like with yours. Yeah. Not as much because it was an existing suspension that's been there for a while, so it's already sort of settled, so to speak. Yeah. But when it's a new suspension, or even if it's standard suspension and you add a bull bar or something like that, getting a wheel alignment straight away, yes, but then also another one probably only 1,500, 2,000 k's later, that just lets it fully settle. And then after that, keeping up, say 10 to 15,000 k wheel alignments are good. That's anything, but just these particularly.
Ranger is definitely 15,000 k's overdue.
So you can sort of like do it at home by rotating. But you will obviously
front to back, left to right.
Depending on the tyre, but generally just front to back is fine. If you go diagonal, that's no big deal. You will notice if it's been quite a while, if you've got some sort of aggressive tyre that's an AT or a bit more aggressive AT. Yeah. If it's been a bit longer, 20, 30,000 k's, when you say even just change front to back, you'll start to notice some noise because
it's changing
where it was wearing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's already worn a certain way, and it'll start to make a bit of noise. Depending on the tyre life and age and how you drive, that could sort of wear back to being quiet again, or quieter again. But that's just something to know. A lot of people go, "Oh, change it now; it's really noisy." But that's what it is. You've moved. Say, maybe the front end will quieten down. Engine and things like that will quieten down a tyre more than the rear. So you get, say, maybe a feathered front tyre that's had a bit of wear. Put it on the back, you'll hear it come through the back more. So
today's going to be very educational.
Tyre facts.
How I should be looking after my cars. That's why they're going to Josh.
You don't have to, but it's going to help you long run, especially when you spend this sort of money on tyres.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that sort of brings me to our next question. Before we left, we were running the KMCs on the car. Yep. You've taken those off because they're a bit aggressive in the offset department. That's right.
And the style. They look really good. I love the KMCs on the Ranger, and the 235s that we had on this are a really good looking wheel. But I suppose what I see most of is, Josh's builds. They're a very particular style, and they all look good, and they've all got the forged wheel on it, whether it be a fuel or a method. And I think that style is how we wanted to portray, or how we wanted this car to look, I guess, so it appeals to people. I wanted our customers to be able to drive past it and almost
feel like it's like their car.
Exactly,
relate to it.
Relate to it,
Relate to it, yes. That's
you made a good point the other day when we were at Josh's, that sort of a Built Wyld car can go past. It doesn't have any advertising on it, but you know that Josh has been involved in that build. So that's pretty cool. But so what have we actually gone to here? We've gone with fuel wheels.
So we went away from, so they're a KMC 235 that was a 17 by 8.5 zero offset from memory.
Yep.
And now these are a fuel piston.
Yep, that's it.
17.9 plus one.
Plus one, zero. Yeah.
Why
Same
with
thing.
the plus
Yeah.
one?
I honestly
Just
don't
make it
know.
a
I don't know
zero.
whether it's like when you search something, you want a positive offset, it sort of makes it easier or something. I don't know. But they're fuel, and I think it's just really fuel. All their zeros are plus one, except for their like full beadlock wheels.
That sounds like a
all
rounding error at the factory.
It's pretty close. We just got
Yeah, it was
There's probably some sort of, like you said, really weird marketing reason for it. There has to be.
keeps it positive. But that's so they're essentially a zero. But yeah, so they're slightly wider wheel.
Yep.
Going an 8.5 to a 9.
Yep.
But we put the same size tyre back on.
Which is
so this one's a 295 70/70. So you could that's on the bigger end. I've seen people go 35s. You're really starting to
on these
cause you got to cut a fair bit of stuff to make that work. We've made some room back here to make it work. Usually with a 295 and a 0, you're getting pretty close to. We usually will need a body mount chop to make some room there.
I did notice that on the beach,
did
though.
it rub a little?
Quite often we were doing U-turns and there was never any fouling.
It didn't?
Really?
It was awesome.
That's
No,
good.
it was awesome. Yeah,
Good,
yeah.
So that's one of the things, and we'll talk about other parts of the suspension, but pushing the caster forward helps that clearance, obviously pushing the wheel away from there. But there's negatives to that too with CV bind and some other things with that. So I guess one is knowing what you want, but it's also having someone that can do it and know where the limitations are, where you're going to start causing yourself problems. So we've got the wheel liner we work with is very experienced, and we've been doing everything with him.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. Like you're looking for like a holistic solution, right? Like if you go affecting one thing or changing one thing to get rid of scrub, you're potentially introducing another issue. So you got to look at from the whole situation.
And the way it can affect the way it drives and
all
sorts of stuff. But we found this worked out really well. Found a really good balance. And to be honest, every car I find is just that little bit different. It has a bull bar, it doesn't. So the heights we've got to adjust.
That's interesting.
The rear, it all affects it. So
and so we actually had one of the first sets in Australia on this. So obviously there'd be a few kicking around now.
World first. We missed our chance to put a post.
Should have grabbed that.
World first grey BT50 with 17 by 9.
But there's not really. I don't think there's a BT50 out there. There was only a few landed initially when you got yours. And now there's it wouldn't be World because obviously USA always gets it, but Australia, Justin at iTyres is my supplier, and we work with Wheel Pros, or now called Hoonigan. But they
really,
I
saw you tag the thing Hoonigan Australia, and I was like, that's weird. I wonder what that's about.
Yeah, it's a different thing. If you're into that sort of stuff and you know Hoonigan, you'll see there's a few people who left Hoonigan, and there's different things going on. But in that sort of social media world, but what happened back when Ken was still around, Ken Block, Wheel Pros, who were the supplier of Fuel, XD, KMC, all those wheels. They, in America, massive company, they bought Hoonigan, the brand.
Wow.
That was like, probably 2-3 years before Ken passed away, but they've been sort of building to that, and then they made the call to, it's an interesting call to me, just because I think Hoonigan just is like that cool brand of just people having fun, doing crazy stuff. To me, that's I don't know, shirts and hats and...
Like it would have been better to keep it two
lifestyle.
separate entities.
But they've decided to call basically Wheel Pros. It's still going to have the business name, whatever, but Wheel Pros will now be Hoonigan. So they're sort of transitioning at the moment. So they're going to use, so Hoonigan will be where you get the wheels. So there's still all the brands underneath it. But from Hoonigan. But anyway, they got us those wheels.
Where's my monster sticker then?
You get a flat brim with every purchase. But these are available now, obviously.
They're now available. So they're still sort of petering because they're still quite new, but there is some that we can get a hold of now. They come in, I'm actually really keen to see the bronze as well. So bronze centre. So they come in black, grey and bronze. So I've seen some pictures of like Broncos and stuff in the States with the bronze, and I'm a big gold bronze sort of fan. So.
Do you know off the top of your head, if someone was to get these, what RRP is on wheel and tyre?
So wheel wise, you're around 390, that sort of department, high 300s, 400. Well, obviously depends on the colour. Some of the colours are slightly different, and sizing. They largely just have the 17 by 9 plus 1 at the moment. That's in this particular wheel. And to be honest, fuel wheels are all around that sort of money without going to beadlocks and stuff. And then the tyres, they're around 550 these ones, like high 500, 550, 600 in that size, a big tyre, and it's a big name brand, very popular.
So for about $4,000 you can get new wheels and tyres and a carton of beer with the change.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could even arrange.
Good deal.
So it depends. The other fun thing now is tyre pressure sensors and things like that with fitting tyres.
Yeah,
so this
you've got
one's
some experience.
Yeah,
with that.
I've got really good experience in braking them.
Cut in.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris from Custom Wheelhouse showed me how to change them, and then literally on the very next one, I broke the sensor.
Just snapped it straight off.
Yeah, sorry.
So that adds a bit of cost, but it's the way everything is now.
Yeah,
it's a nice feature. So,
So the next thing I want to talk about is the bash plates.
Yep.
So yeah, we've obviously got the Bay House unit fitted to the front of the car now.
Yep.
We've partnered with the guys at Bay House.
Yeah,
we're going to be offering our own.
So it'll still essentially be their product with a few styling tweaks. I want to make like a wing a little bit bigger here, put our branding on it. But yeah, so it's essentially a Fabulous Fab product. Sorry, Bay House product, Fabulous Fab branding, a few small tweaks available through our online store only, and we'll dispatch from our warehouse.
Yeah, and that's because the guys had hundreds of hours of scanning and like testing, and they've done all that. We wanted to sell their products, and this is the best of both worlds, right?
I've literally come along at the end, put the cherry on top, put my cherry on top.
Yeah.
Like their products are absolutely awesome, and they don't need changing whatsoever. But I figured if we were going to brand it as ours, we should have a few small differences.
Yep.
And thankfully the guys at Bay House were happy to agree to do that.
Yeah.
So,
and all things being well, that's on the website right now. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, head to the website, check it out, see if it is.
Dom's going to be watching this episode going, what?
Yeah, shouldn't you tell me?
You want what? That's where?
Speaking of Bay House, the rock sliders is the next thing that came. We took those in the back of the ute, obviously dropped it off and got you and the guys to fit it. Yep. How was that to fit?
Yeah, quite good. There's a lot of, there's probably 3 or 4 main brands when it comes to the slider step. That still gives you some foot purchase and a good strong thing. These are particularly tough. I spoke to the guys at Bay House and said they're a good strong unit.
They are robust.
Yeah, robust. So
and that was the, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, you're right.
I was so worried when we took the factory side steps off that Finn, Morgan's son, wouldn't be able to get in and out of the car.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that was the first question I asked Morgan after we got back from Morton was, what was Finn's reaction when you got home? And he's like, oh, I knew this and knew that, and he could still get in. So if you do have young kids and you're worried about that, thankfully we've tested it for you. Yeah.
So we get a lot of questions, can 3-year-olds still climb in the car? And the 3-year-old tested, it's all good.
They also are fine for your dogs jumping in and out as well. Dogs, kids.
Yeah, I think I saw the
rocks.
The light
so they're
positioning they got on there. So
rock lights. So we've got them fitted to the Ranger, but not to the BT.
We've got some pictures of the Ranger from when we fitted the sliders and the lights, and they were purple, Paul, if that's correct. And it does look pretty
Done
good.
well, it's cool, man.
Yeah.
Everyone has that.
It's a bit of an ode to the drift thing, isn't it? That we keep banging on about.
Car scene.
Man, Fast and Furious 1 when the 3 Civics stole the VCRs and they're all in green. Neon.
The idea is there's some use for them, so at night you can see some things you might not have seen around the car.
That's right, they actually are supposed to be useful.
I don't know if you knew that, but no, they are actually for something. But I'm pretty sure most people that get them, it's more leaning
Master
towards
BT50s with a green neon glow.
Yeah. This is where it's well above my pay grade, and I'm just going to let you guys discuss it. But we get a lot of questions about suspension mods. There was a couple of comments on Facebook. We put up a post asking if anyone had some questions about BT builds. These are, I wouldn't say notorious, but there is some people sort of talking on the net about bump steer.
Yep.
Is that sort of pretty common in BT50s more so than other just four drives?
Which is what?
Bump steer is essentially going over a bump, the wheels will steer. So it can be bump as it compresses.
To each other?
If it's compressing, it'll toe out. If it's going up, it'll toe in. I think that's right. They're in the front and behind. But that's basically what happens is, the steering rack is here, your wheel and the arm that goes to it is here. Yep. When you go down, because it's already on an angle, it brings it closer. So, and I think it's at the
hence the steering rack.
Shortening, yeah. So it's moving that in. So that's been there hasn't really been a fix or anything for that until maybe 6 months ago or so. The first ones to hit the market were Fulcrum with a full hub. So they changed the pickup points of all that, raised and lowered and etc.
Really?
Yeah. So they're not cheap, but they're a pretty thorough fix for the issue. But I think they're about 17 or 1800 for the parts, and it's we're pressing things out. It's a whole.
So the hub is a knuckle basically.
The knuckle, yeah. So the hub is a bit that holds everything. So the bearing, the hub, the all the arms, everything comes to that. So
That
everything
sounds
has
like
to
it's
be
a
taken
pretty
off.
big issue if people are going to
Yeah.
that extent to fix it.
Yeah.
So like from old S15 days when you used to lower them too far and you'd go over a bump,
Yep.
you know,
could feel
sometimes
it
it
moving,
pull you.
pull you over.
True.
Is that sort of what you're experiencing?
Yeah,
or
not so much
or
pulling.
is it a tyre
It's
wear
more just
thing?
tyre wear that people will find.
Wow.
And say you're turning around a corner, a bit more vague steering. So the real thing people are noticing is some people are getting some of these fixes done and are noticing that is more direct. They've been driving their car for a long time and they've got this, you know, there's 3 main ones out at the moment. So there's 2 from Mungie and that hub. They're noticing that it's now more direct. They're not going over a bump and it's sort of towing out and you're getting less steering all of a sudden.
Yeah.
They're noticing that, and that trails down to talked about before, tyre wear. If these are sort of wheel lined well to start with, and then you keep on top of it, you can go pretty well.
Yeah.
And get some every 10,000 k's do tyre rotations, that sort of stuff. But some of these fixes are just going to give you more tyre life.
Yeah.
Not as much concern about that. So the biggest ones that have issue with the bump steer are obviously people who don't know about it. That's the number one thing. So they might have put a bull bar on, or they might have changed the suspension or whatever. And it's settled and they haven't had a wheel on it since then.
Yeah.
And that will then they can go down to canvas in like under 10,000 k's. If
Wow,
you haven't set them up.
it's that noticeable.
Yeah. So early on, like I was selling the cars when they first arrived, we put bull bars on them, just Mazda, all genuine stuff. And then there was tyres getting like to canvas in like 8,000 k's.
Imagine how
Knowledge of it.
happy you'd be with
So-
that.
Oh man, your first service and you get
Yeah.
a warranty claim for tyres.
So yeah, so that's all. And they're supplying new tyres. The new
Wow.
bulletin, thing was that you had to if you bull bar, you had to get a wheel line straight away. We would do that. But then really the issue could continue if you didn't keep the wheel line up to it and it settled a bit more. But yeah, the other issue that people have is if they're towing heavy amounts for long trips, which is obviously pretty common. Someone goes on a big caravan trip, you're changing that geometry at the front because you've got that weight on the back.
Yeah.
So, and then you drive around the block, it probably won't do anything, but you drive for a long time, your tyres get hotter, the wear is quicker. So if you're sitting with the van on the back for 10 hours and it's just heating up the tyres, that wear that, in that 1,000k trip will be a lot more than if you had the same problem with your caravan or whatever, but you went like 50k's. You're just not going to get that much wear. Lots of little 50k trips you probably won't see, but longer trips where the tyre heats up, you get that wear.
So anyone that's doing, Queensland coast,
big
interstate
trips like that,
trips, they want to
gonna
spend
be-
the money on fixing.
Yeah, are going to be either loaded up or not. So say you've got, an alloy canopy set up and it's always loaded, that generally is going to sort of stay similar. If you've got a good wheel alignment, should be good. But if you're, sometimes putting a big weight on, sometimes not,
Big variables.
that's where you definitely want to look at something with the bump steer.
That sort of leads into a perfect question. Someone said, what's the best bolt-on solution for this? Is there a go-to that you have? Or?
Just recently, just in the last couple of months, so the Mungie, I think they're very deep on Isuzu. So they've been researching that. They're engineers and all sorts of stuff. Only a little company, but they really focus on the car. So they've done a lot of work. They've got 2 kits out that basically lower the steering rack. So you've lifted the car, even if you haven't, sometimes there's a bit of an angle on the steering rack. You're then bringing the steering rack back down to straighten out those arms. So they have a bolt-on kit. So the question was, what's the best bolt-on?
Yep.
Their bolt-on steering rack drop is probably my go-to, I would say now. I've only done a few of them, but
It's so funny that I remember Josh saying when we went to Built Wyld that the guy from Mungie was into drifting.
Drifter as well,
And it's so we'd move the rack forward. He's moving it down. It's just the same shit on a different platform. He's like, wait, I've been through this before. How can I fix it?
He's done a great job. So he's got 2 options. He's got a bolt-in one.
Yeah.
So it's literally your bush usually has a hole in the middle. It now has a hole at the bottom or top.
Yeah.
To drop
Like
it
an
down.
eccentric thing
Yeah,
or whatever.
eccentric. So we line them up and put them in and it drops them. He has a weld-in option which goes further to fix the problem a bit more. That option is a bit more expensive to buy and then obviously more to put in. And there is, when you go right down to the letter of the law, it should be engineered. Because there's some welding and mounts that are re-welded.
Yes.
So that depends if you want to go there, but I think the bolting one's quite good because you don't require any of that engineering. It's probably like a good 60, I'm probably making up numbers here, but something like say 50, 60, 70% fix with bolt-on.
So for anyone that's like a run-of-the-mill like 3-inch lift, 285 tyre, the bolt-in is completely
it's a
fine.
great idea. It's really anyone with any sort of lift that's going to definitely help you. Every car's got bump steer. There's not really any cars out there that have none. from factory. So
it's just a side effect.
It's just
geometry,
the geometry of the suspension. So it's basically, there's some perfectly organised cars that have their lower control arms the exact same length. That's getting pretty deep. But long story short, if you get that bolt-on kit, you're getting at least as good as other cars, potentially a little better in bump steer. And obviously it goes further when you go to, say, the hub or the welding kit. So it just depends how much you want to spend and how much you want to fix the problem. For me, I think it's a good option, just that still keep on top of your wheel alignments, and that Mungie bolting kit is a good value option without spending thousands.
I honestly didn't realise that was a thing until I saw that question. I was like, what? Well, like, what is this?
Yeah, no, look,
yeah.
If you
And I mean, is that saying that we are, in saying that I didn't realise it was a thing and you didn't realise it was a thing?
With my four-wheel drive experience as well, which is kind of weird that I didn't come across it.
Is it that bad? Do you need the bolting kit? Can you get away with it? It's just tyre life.
I've got a lot of,
just tyre life,
it's tyre life. I've got a few years of this exact car with lifts that are going well. And, you know, it's from keeping wheel alignments up, that sort of stuff. There is some
regular maintenance. It's
not done a wheel alignment, you know, say, 20, 30,000 Ks. They've now got worn out tyres or... You know, it was like I said, it was a big issue early on because no one knew about it. But now knowing about it, you can do your best without it. But obviously this is just an aid to potentially keep a bit more tyre life in it.
Well, that sort of goes into our next question about suspension. So what are we running in it? What have we done additionally? What lift? Take me through it, because I don't want to... Dom doesn't want to reply to any more questions.
Yeah, like we said in the other episode, this car has BT50 suspension. So we did rear shocks, standard springs, and then the front coilover adjustable shock.
So I did notice one of the comments in that video was like, why BP51s? There's this better on the market. And look, that's going to be the case. I mean, with whatever you choose, there's going to be alternate opinions. Where does BP51 sit in the realm of...
Yeah, to be honest, the only reason I ever put BPs in it was because when we got the next gen Ranger, the first shock available was a BP51. If you followed us for a while, you know that my OCD is through the roof, and obviously if I had BPs in the Ranger, then I had to have BPs in the BT.
That was literally the reason.
Literally, that's the only reason, man. I know they're a good shock, like you know, people with 200s and caravans and the older generation tend to run BPs because they are a really good, really comfortable shock. Unfortunately, they didn't deliver us what we wanted to in terms of stance, which is why we got Josh to space it up. But yeah, the main reason why this has BPs in it is my OCD.
So what is that? What lift did that provide out of the box?
So I think the back stayed about standard.
The back stayed pretty much standard. It can sometimes, a shock can adjust the height a little bit with the standard leaf, just because having a bit more firmer shock.
Yeah.
But the front end from ARB would have been a 2-inch lift.
Yeah.
And in your case, that would have settled a bit over time.
Yes, which it did, definitely, yeah.
So you definitely will get a bit more settle when you have nothing in the back. So cars that have an alloy canopy or just a weight in the back or various things, they won't get as much settling because it's just leverage, essentially. It's like holding the front up.
Yeah.
So we do notice more settling in that. So yours had settled down actually not hugely far off standard height, like it was about probably about 25.
That explains why it looked like it did when we dropped it off.
It was maybe like an inch lift, if that. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it was like probably 20 mil lift from stock.
Yeah.
So there is with the BPs, you can wind them up. They have different settings from their system, so to speak. That would be for a bull bar, they'd go a bit higher. So it would then settle to the same point. Bull bar and winch, a bit higher again. So they can do that. But the problem is if you keep really winding that up, you do actually get a stiffer ride over time. So what we did is a little tweak, but we then put that spacer in, which I know spacers are not loved in the BT50s, particularly say Hiluxes and stuff. They're not great with a spacer because of the type of shock they've got. But the BT50, the type of shock and that, how solid that is, it works well, obviously within reason. Yeah. And the droop limiting. So one of the issues with the spacers is you can droop too far because essentially just moving your shock down. And then the droop can go too far.
Hence the bit underneath the arm on the new Mungie.
That's exactly right. So that Mungie droop stop sort of helps cover the issue of maybe the shock letting it go too far because you've moved the shock down further. So we looked at the droop and that sort of stuff, and it was quite good. So yeah, usually if you keep squeezing a suspension up, like winding it up, obviously you get a little bit more firm preload, like just that initial bump, but you might end up with like 10 to 20 mil of down travel, which is not great. It's a weird feeling. It's over bump, it's okay, but
bump.
it's when it goes down the other side, it like pulls you down.
I have noticed that some customers' cars that we fit snorkels to, you know,
generally the high ones.
Now, in the complex, because there's so many speed bumps, you'll go over one and it's like the front falls out from underneath you.
Down, it
feels fucking horrible.
It's not a good feeling.
There's no other way to explain it. It's horrible.
It's worse than a stiff spring. It's because it like pulls you down.
Yeah.
So that sort of just happened to work well in this one.
Yeah.
We obviously looked at all the specs and made sure that was right, and it's got I think about 40 mil droop.
Had I have left it with you like I should have done when we picked it up originally, what front strut or what suspension would you put in it? What's your go-to?
I'm not affiliated with a suspension brand, but with the business, but I sort of just keep going to Dobinson's at the moment with that premium level, the MRA.
With the remote res.
So these have the remote res too, and these are adjustable.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Dobinson's MRA. A little bit better, a little bit cheaper price than the BT50 and I've had fantastic results. And I will get a 3-inch out of it, no drama. They have the springs to suit that and everything. So with the proper droop and all that sort of stuff, I think they work really well. That's sort of to me, when I'm pricing for people or talking to people, that's like a premium option, the MRA.
And
whereas
because I know people ask RRP on a 3-inch lift. So do you do 3 and 1, 3 and none?
That's the other thing. Say, obviously we could go none like yourself. Yeah. But if you go say a full lift with full new suspension, so an upgraded leaf in a whole leaf kit.
Yes.
Something like that would be fitted at 4.3, something like that. Fitted wheel lined around that. Yeah. You can get the same height results out of say their own. Like Dobinson will have IMS, which doesn't have the remote res and the adjustable. That'd save you about $1,000. And I used it heaps and still will as a great value and really good ride is PSR. I find their gear, like there's conflicting responses on that, but if you get the right spring rate in them, which we know, they're a 2 to 4 inch strut, so they don't run out of that droop as well, so they're really good. And I find they ride really well. Choose the right spring rate.
The White Ranger I had PSR front shocks in it, and it was awesome.
Yeah. For a non-remote res, they're pretty good. They're not that far off the way they ride. So I find them, and they're an awesome value shock. So they as a whole lift kit, they'd be sort of 3 total fitted, or even better than that. But there's other options. One thing that I've got Johnny, my fitter, is a bit of a gun with adjusting the leafs. So if you're not going to carry weight, we can adjust the leaf just a little bit up. So a lot of the leaf kits, if you get a full leaf kit, it's going to go 2 inch. It's just going to go 2 inch. And then it's hard to chase the front if you want that level look. We'll literally adjust or reset the leaf to about an inch, 15, 20 mil, an inch, somewhere around there. And then that will level it out. So
full mini trucker this guy had. I knew there was lowering blocks in the race part shop for a reason.
And then we'll French your tailgate and then
But that's a great option when you're not carrying weight. And don't want a super high rear end.
So before you were just talking about the Mungie parts there, because we got the lower control arms from Mungie, right? Upper. For that droop limiter as well.
Upper control arms, diff drop.
The diff drop.
Diff drop, bolt-in diff drop.
Bolt-in diff drop, bolt-in, obviously they use the original ball joint.
Bring the CVs down.
So that just helps, and just its positioning, it probably doesn't give you as a caster change that it helps with the wheel alignment, and the other thing that happens with your standard arm is as you lift it, it gets a lot of positive camber. So they actually bring the top in, so that helps being able to wheel align it basically, because you've only got 2 little adjustments for wheel alignment. And then they don't put heaps of caster, which is sort of kicking the wheel back a little bit to correct what it is. So that again helps keep the wheel a little further forward in the guard compared to some of the other uppers that are available. And they're just a really nice bit of kit. They're forged alloy. They've actually got, if you check on their YouTube, they've just put a couple of videos out on some real detail on those 2 things.
So, cool. That'd be good links to chuck up.
You can have a look at them. He'll quickly know that he knows what he's talking about. So. But they're a stronger arm than standard.
They use the factory bushes too, right?
Factory ball joint out.
So that's important.
So that's
if you blow one of those out,
easily replace it. And then they don't make it too strong, where if you had an incident or something, it'd start bending other stuff. So it's stronger than standard, but not too. And they're just a really nice unit. So
that's sort of a really good spot here, just to segue to a question that we got: best wheel and tyre package and a suspension for a touring setup. So they want to run 33s as well. What would you sort of go? What's your go-to there? Is it the same sort of thing?
Pretty much what we're talking about. And I would if you just said, I want a really nice thing that's going to ride well. Say you've got an alloy canopy that you're touring with, some weight on the back, might be towing. I would I'd lean towards the MRAs or one of the remote res shocks that do have the adjustable dampening. When you are loaded up, you can stiffen up that a bit and make the rear a bit more firm, which is good. Ride's really nice because you're going to be in the car a long time for your touring. So that sort of setup, that's what I would do, and then obviously choose the rear leaf to suit what they're doing. And then, yeah, again, the Maxxis is hard to beat tyre-wise. You've got 285. I've used a lot of the Kenders in the 33 12.5. You need a flare to cover that up like you have.
So that's a great segue.
Yeah.
You finished there? Because there was a question about the flares. And we've had a heap of questions about what we've gone with on this. Roughly how much it would cost too. So what brand are they?
Yeah, so these are Max Liner. So
same as the floor mats that we've got in it.
they're a great 3D mat. That's essentially where I got onto them. And then I found these just a really good slim flare because these fit a 0 type offset and 285, 295 quite well.
How wide are they?
They're only about 15 mil.
Interesting.
So, which is good because you really don't need a big 35 mil flare like most of them. Because these tuck a tyre quite well in a 0 offset with some good wheel options. So it's good that they're only slim. They only come in either a painted matte black or a painted grey, which is not the same grey as a car. It's I think it's similar to the grey on the D-Max.
Yes, that obsidian
XT,
grey or whatever.
That flare they offer, the X-Rain one. So we do then paint it.
I know the colour.
So we do then paint it custom, which sort of jumps the price up a fair bit. So they're, the flares are around $800 just supply, but depending on the paint shop, we got a guy that does a really good job. That ended up at that fitted at about $1,800. So because they're pulling off the seal, putting it back on, prepping it, painting it properly, matching it to the car.
Yeah, so you could put them on as the matte black paint.
Matte black, and you'd be,
other accessories.
If you line up,
you better match them.
You better pick the right colour snorkel.
Matte black snorkel, matte black, and I've done a lot of that, as you would know, is the matte black one.
Oh, it's nice so important, hey?
And then line up the flare because it's right next to it as well. And then it works well. That's good value. Like, you'd be fitted for about $1,100, the standard flare.
And the fitting, what's involved there? Like,
pretty easy,
pretty easy,
yeah. So it's a little bit muck around when you paint them because you've got to redo the seal and there's a bit of...
So it comes all...
It comes all ready to go.
This little thing here?
Yeah, so that's has to come off, otherwise they sort of cover it in paint. So, so it's bolted underneath in the factory inner guard locations and then just stuck on the top with, like, on the other side of that seal. So it's like a double-sided tape there. They're really quite easy to fit. And they fit neat, as you can see on this.
And I think...
They come up well.
Sorry, I heard you say something about price before. I think if my quick maths is correct, about $4,000 for a lift, about $4,000 for wheels and tyres, and about $2,000 for the flares. About $10,000, you could be ready to go touring.
That'd be, max.
And looking good. But then you'd also need the Snorkel Airbox, which probably comes first.
Plus upper control, stiff drop, rock sliders.
So I would say that the premium option is that sort of $9 or $10,000. Like they'll get you a really nice... You choose your wheel because you've got a flare to cover it. You can paint it. Obviously, price would come down if you didn't paint it. Price would come down if you went a smaller wheel tyre or a different type of suspension. But as a premium level, like wheel tyre, flare, suspension, fully sorted, you'd be somewhere around that 10 mark, and that'd get you...
Which is not like...
stuff.
Man, in today's money, that's what... 3 trips to Woolies.
6 coffees with alternative milk.
What I would mention too is that we obviously put this underwater, and the Ranger came out with one less flare. The flare survived on this.
This was deep.
Deep, man, I was packing.
You should have heard the noises.
Absolutely not. I was like, no, we don't need to do this. We're just going to go through some. I was pushing for we need some content with some snorkel content. But this was way too deep. Nathan walked it and he's like under here. And I was like, no, we'll go somewhere else. Anyway, he did it. He found the shallow line. He's like, no, we've really got to test it. Well, then he came back around the other side.
But so the flares on the Ranger.
We came back with one less.
So. Testament to your flare fitting skills.
Sweet. Look, there's one final question there. What are the easiest power gains out of the 4JJJ3? Intercooler, exhaust, turbo upgrades, and how would you rank its reliability, I guess, against other manufacturers?
Start with reliability, it's right up there. Being the 4JJ1's been around for forever and being really reliable, the 4JJ3 is just a tweak on that.
Less literage? Why was the different in the end number?
Less literage to the previous BT, same literage as the previous D-Max, but so they went to a 4-cylinder 3 litre instead of a 5-cylinder 3.2. If you're towing big weight, that previous 3.2 was better in that situation. But in a lot of other situations, this is better. It's better on fuel.
And there's things like
reliability-wise,
driving a car compared to my 3.2 litre Ranger. It was like driving a bloody tractor. They're
just so nice. Nice inside. Not as like totally different car because you went from a Ranger car to an Isuzu car, but it seems like less room inside, but it's not much. Like it's not much difference. Yeah. Definitely nicer with the layout and the features in the car. And that engine, whilst being a little bit less power, like in that real big motor power up a hill with 3 tonne behind, I think the 3.2 will be a little better. This is still going to do the job, just work a tiny bit harder. But they're also, as old mate mentioned about tuning or getting more power out of it, they're really wound down.
Oh, right.
What makes
quite
them
conservative.
There
tunes.
is people making good power out of these, isn't there?
Yeah. In
with minimal mods.
Thailand, they're going stupid with it. But yeah, minimal mods. The big thing with these is, and as you've found with your Raptor stuff, is the computer just sort of controls everything.
Oh, true.
So you could go and put an exhaust on, DPF back. The DPF is sort of the restriction there anyway, as you guys will know. So that's not going to make a lot, make it sound a little better, but won't necessarily give it more power. If you went a turbo back turbo back bigger exhaust, there's some legality problems there that you'd have to work out. But you did that, and then you got a tune. That would then be a bigger gain than if you just got a tune. Yeah. But the number one thing I think is a tune. They get heaps out of it straight away with a tune on these, and then that's with everything standard. But obviously increase like airbox, that new airbox, that's going to flow more.
I am really glad, and sorry, just to touch on it while we're there, and I don't know if you can talk about it or not, but given that you come from Mazda, tuning them, warranty, done?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Depends what you do.
As far as engine and drivetrain goes.
So, and that's a big thing as well. Warranty on your Snorkel, warranty on anything that you put on the car, all this stuff.
Yeah.
If that thing that you did affects
fails,
the problem that you have,
then
that's not going to be covered. Obviously that part's not going to be covered because it's not from Mazda, but if the thing that you did affects that, then they obviously have the right to wave their hands on that. So it doesn't, a lot of people think, oh, you lift it or whatever, you just wipe the whole thing. Well, no, your engine's still sweet, your radio, your windows, whatever.
They're not going to have a crack.
It's
causational sort of.
Yeah, that bloody Snorkel caused that.
You have a CV problem or something, then different story. They're gonna not help you with that. But yeah, warranty wise, tuning, obviously have a chat to tuners. There's different ways around keeping it under warranty, so they can tune it and keep your file and that sort of stuff. Or just saving your file.
True.
And then they can resort it back to standard and stuff like that. But yeah, all those things will help. Bigger intercooler, exhaust, all that sort of stuff.
But you're not going to realise those gains.
Unless you got tuned. Yeah. First of all, if you put anything like a turbo or something on, it's just going to say no.
Yeah.
Until you get a full tune. You probably need, to be honest, I haven't been there with these, but you probably need almost maybe a different computer or something to make that all work properly. But
I guess what I do know, and what I probably could add in on this, is that there are a few guys local to us that do tune these.
Yep.
Obviously G&L Performance have been in it for forever.
Yeah, they do. Yep.
Manny from Desta. Who else we got? Just Autos.
Ultimate Diesel Tuning.
Yeah. There's handfuls of people that are capable of doing it, I guess. So if you're in the market for a tune, jump on the Facebook pages and
talk to other owners. That's going to be
that
the
is
best thing.
the best way to find
I don't
any
want to delve into that.
The new forum, but I would like to look at tuning this thing. I think. Hey?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to wrap it up, that's pretty much a full summary of what we've done to the car. Yep. Do you see anything else?
I'm glad you asked, because I was going to ask you, Per, if there was any, after you've driven this for a couple of days. Well, if there was one more mod or one thing you think we could do differently or add on, or
can we talk about what you just bought for it?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
So the canopy.
Yeah.
Some of the boys from the workshop just drove to Bundy. Was it? Did a day trip to Bundy and picked up a canopy for it, which you're getting colour matched from Camo's Bodyworks. And that looks unreal, man. That turns it into the parent bus that I want. So your last mod would be canopy? Yeah, 100%. If you could do anything else to this car, what would it be? I'm a sucker for the PSR ambush bar on these. That's Morgan's 2 mods, canopy, PSR bar. Yeah. Nice. I was involved in the first release and sort of really, when I was at the dealership, really sort of pushed them to release them and sort of had a big buy, like a bulk buy from them to get them out. I just desperately wanted to see them on the cars. Yeah. So that and a blacking out
the grille,
Yeah.
to me just makes the front look super
Yeah,
angry.
actually, I have seen that done, and that looks pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was sort of my thing. Is I'd black out the grille, put that bar on it, and I just
And I think I'd like a front mount, an exhaust, and a tune.
Gee,
And I think Morgan would not like it.
Yeah. You're just getting rid of fuel economy, drivability.
Maybe that'll be episode 3 of the BT50 build series. It'll be rods out the block and Morgan like this.
It's a good thumbnail.
Yeah.
So like I said, we've got the rock sliders, bash plates, the brand new airbox is on the website, and Snorkel. So head over to fabulousfab.com.au. Josh from Built Wyld, obviously head over there. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us, man. Builtwyld.com.au as well. From vehicle sourcing all the way to driving it out and starting touring. Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Cool.